What if you could take that risk, make that change, reach that goal, live your best life? Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast, where we get together with amazing experts and everyday people who share challenges, encourage healing, and explore the possibilities that life has to offer. I'm your host, Gary Scott, and I'm excited that you're along for the ride. Welcome to another episode of What If You Could. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 3 with our interview with Cindy Leos, where Cindy expands on her healing, how she discovered her gifts and her talents, and how she shares them with others. I think you're going to like this episode quite a bit. You're going to love Cindy Leos. So thank you for listening in to episode 3. Now here is Cindy.
And so when you're living in survival mode, you're not living clearly. It's you fight or flight, and so you have these hormones, being flushed through your system that are only meant to help you in short term to flee the lion or to
Right.
fight for your life. And we're not in that circumstance anymore. But like you said, we have overload of all this information coming at us at like 24/7, that we have to find that centered calmness, that neutrality within us. And I think once we do that and we find that within us, that's like the bridgeway to embodying higher frequencies.
I love that. Yeah, I love it. I mean, we've we've got cortisol issues. We've burned out our
Yes.
thyroids. Our
Yes.
adrenal glands are fried. I mean, we we don't take the time to do, what you're, working, trying to help people do is just get centered, get peace, right? Get into that healing, get back into your own body. Because our body's a miraculous miracle,
They
right?
are resilient, miraculous. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And going back to your question about like how long, I mean, the program I'm doing, like I'm doing 30 days of workouts, and maybe the longest is 30, and I'm calling them workouts, but people be like, it's like the longest is 30 minutes and maybe 10 minutes. Because too, it can be a lot for somebody. Like I've had people that maybe have done, one of the wellness days where we did like an hour and a half session. And it's almost one of those things of when, and I get it, of when you're so used to going, 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 and the moment you just slow down and pause and move slowly, you're done. You're like, I can't move. I'm exhausted. I feel so sore, and that's kind of that could be part of the process. And
Hmm.
so, like in those cases, like a little bit, you could just do 10 minutes, but
Yeah.
just that little, because you're unwinding, because the body stores everything.
Hmm.
That's where, like in trauma, I don't really ever say trauma. Trauma is part of it, just because I think it's like so like it's a pop word right now of like, we got to heal your trauma. And trauma, I mean, trauma could be super extreme, or it could just be little of like, when my teacher walked with a paddle,
Or for
um
or for some people, they could have gotten didn't get a thumbs up on their meme, and it's destroyed their whole day. So their little social media post didn't get what they thought, and they're just destroyed for the whole day. They got to lock themselves
100%.
in there for
That's relative today, absolutely.
right, right.
Yeah.
And for me, it always starts with my body to kind of start showing my brain. And so I'm a massage junkie. I love to give
Mm,
massage because it's therapeutic for me to give massage. I love to give a massage, but I love to get massage too because of nothing's worse than a bad massage. I don't care. I'd rather have a bad car than a bad massage. But
yeah.
I love to give the massage because it's such a therapeutic, you know, tight into the body getting their energy, giving them my energy, it feels good. It reminds me of, like I told you before, about how I love to be in the ocean, how the
Yes.
ocean just makes me feel that way. But but for me, I can drop into that very quickly. I can get into a massage very quickly. I can get into giving massage very quickly. I get a good rhythm. But if I go on a vacation, a 1 week vacation, it takes 3 days. I mean, I got to take like a
Mhm.
month-long vacation, right? Because the first 3 days, I am still that. And then by day three or day four, I'm like, oh, all right, I'm starting to be, and now we got to go home. I
And
hate that.
how is it? And then how is it when once you get home?
It just depends what's going on when I get home, but yeah, I don't, my mind just doesn't stop for some reason, even when I go away, right? I'm supposed to be on these great trips and it doesn't. But at other times, like I love to read. And I used to read every night. I'm not as good as I was because I get on that stupid social media stuff. But if I
It's so
get in,
addicting.
right? Oh, it's wicked bad. But when I
Yeah.
get into a good book, forget about it. I mean, the next thing I'm going to feel is a book falling on my face as I fell asleep because I'm still going to try to get one more page of the book, right? Because
Wow, that's great.
nothing drags me in and takes me away like a really great book, where I can just get soaked into the characters and go into what I'm learning. But um, it's so interesting, this somatic therapy. I'm going to look more into this. Um, I just, some of the stuff I read about it, how, where you could take it, there's so many different places you could take it.
Mhm.
What do you think's next for you on this? You think you're going to keep going deeper down the somatic movement
Well,
therapy, or what do you think you're going to do with you? You're always
I
doing
mean,
something.
I know I'm always doing something. I mean, right now this is where I'm at. I'm passionate about. I think I've been my client, my first client of my like me myself of doing this because I'm a practical person. I live in LA. Yes, there's when you have to work and you have to do things, and I have clients and I have to drive all around, and so I'm in that. And but this is the practice. This somatic approach is when I can change that dial. When I can bring some calmness in my system. Um, I can also say that for me, it's just released so much tension. So now, like, I would always get headaches from neck pain.
Mhm.
And I don't know the last time that I've gotten a headache. So, like knots, start unraveling. I mean, there's some deep stuff, and you can feel when you do the movements because it could just be so like this little movement's going to do something, and then afterwards, like, oh my god, like I feel just like spaciousness and expansion in my body, almost
Wow.
like you got a massage.
Or gone to
So
see a
with this,
chiropractor, you don't think they did
yes,
anything, yet they actually
yes,
did a lot, right? With that.
yes.
And you started
So
this, you kind of jumped into this at the beginning of COVID, right? Which is
yeah,
perfect timing, which
yeah,
kind of
because I
had to
had to take
suck.
since everything closed, I had to take my practice into my own hands because I mean, I did yoga 4 or 5 times a week. So I had to take my practice into my own hands. And two, what I love about this is that you can take this approach to other workouts, but with the somatic movement. And so I really want to teach just kind of the foundation, or what I perceive as a foundation, and build upon that, of making it more into functional mobility work. So of like, we start lying on the ground, but we make our way to sideline, to seated, to kneeling, to standing, and then making our way back down. So you are developing functional strength. It's actually preparing you for real life movement. You know how to hold your body weight. I work with a lot of older people, and so uh, I go to a park over here, and I can't tell you how many old people I've picked up because of falling, and then they, there's that freak out moment of like falling, like, oh my god, I hit my head, and but they can't get themselves up, so of having that strength, and like simultaneously, like when you build that strength, you do build your body, you do shape your body, because there's also those people like, well, I need, my arms are flabby, or but this is an inward approach, and you will building muscle, but you're calming your system. Once your system's calmed, everything just starts working more efficiently. So like my goal, like as a mover and with doing this, is just to make people into more efficient movers for as long as they live in their lives. And I hate the rhetoric of like, oh, 40s, and your back hurts and you can't do squat down, your knees and everything. Like, no, 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 no. That is a belief system. We got to get to unprogramming, like disconnect, release that. Let's rewrite this. Like, no, 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 no. I'm not giving into that of the whole age, yes, there's an aging process, but of like, it's been a societal program in this matrix that we've all, you know, kind of
It's an
said
American
yes to.
thing. They want us to die before we collect Social Security. It's an American thing. I just I just
Yeah,
turned
USA.
61. I'm heading to 62.
Good for you.
And I feel like I'm 12 years old, I
I
still
love that.
laugh at fart jokes, and I'm still in my brain, I'm a little 12-year-old boy. Physically, I am starting to feel a little bit of stuff, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
fit. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my wife and I'll snowboard any 18-year-old into the ground, right? I mean, we go
See,
after it.
you want to enjoy the things that you love,
Yes, we want
you
to stay healthy,
know?
but the thing that I think about with what you're doing is, and real quick, a cute story. I had my one of my assistants. We've had a real estate company for 35 years, and one of the assistants we had, Regina, when she joined us, she worked for the CEO of Northrop Grumman. It was
Oh, my
Northrop at
dad,
the
that's
time.
where my dad retired from Northrop in 2020. My brother still works there.
No shit. That's great. Yeah, Regina worked for the CEO back many years ago. And
Wow.
so it was a big gig, right? She was like an important gal. Because of course she ran everything. The guy couldn't, these CEOs are like, but as she came to us, she was in her late 70s and she worked with us into her 80s, right? And she every morning would get up and she'd fall down on the right side 10 times and get up, fall down, get up, and then she'd do it on the left side. And sometimes if she forgot to do it before she got in the office, she'd do it in the office. She'd fall down and go, "Oh shit, are you okay? What are you doing?" She goes, "I practice falling down and getting back up."
I love that.
Right. And we all loved it. And I'm thinking, that is so brilliant. I mean, into her 80s, she was falling down 10 times on her right and falling down so she could get up. She was always worried about falling and getting up. But I digress. But for you, if imagine what you can do for humanity, right? If you can just get people, whether it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, to stop, like you said, lay there, feel their
Just to
body,
slow down. Yeah,
slow
just
it
that
down.
slowing down, allow the energy to settle, and yeah, to just like
I'm gonna open.
allow
We're
the
gonna
body
we're
to
gonna
rest.
open slow down salons all over the country where people come in,
So needed.
and you just get them to just, instead of going and having a cheeseburger or something that's going to damage your body, come in and just stop, right? Stop and start healing every day. It'll change their lives.
Mhm.
It's an amazing thing. I mean, like I said, the more I've
So
read into it,
important.
the more it really, it's an amazing, very
And
amazing.
I have, I'm really just into holistic health. So, like with that and working with clients, it's, you know, obviously this movement is a holistic approach. We're not just going through movements. It's not about mirroring or just repetition after repetition. It's an experience, but also just, circadian, aligning with the circadian rhythm, exposing yourself to, depending on what kind of state you are in, whether if you are in an inflamed state, of exposing yourself to that morning sunlight. That's your infrared light right there, which is so healing. Um,
Well, and
of those little practices.
we live in beautiful places. I mean, the desert obviously gets very hot, but most of the year it's beautiful, especially you get out in the morning. I mean,
Yeah.
imagine being able to get people who haven't their feet haven't touched grass in like 5 years, right? Get them barefoot, get them standing on the grass, get them standing on the earth, get them laying on the earth outside
Mhm.
in the sun. Um, I mean, just that alone starts healing your
Just that
soul.
alone.
Yeah, just healing your soul. And no one does it. I mean, like we talked about when we were on the phone, I'm a total grounder. I'm always looking for a patch of grass. I mean, when we walk the baby, when we walk my grandson on the sidewalk, there's a senior citizens home on the corner, and they have this beautiful little grass and then dirt, then grass, dirt. I take off my flip-flops and I walk on that grass until I have to put my flip-flops back to get to the next grass. But I look for grass to walk on, right? And just stand there and just feel it. Or I'll go outside and I'll just stare at the sun, with my eyes closed for 10 minutes just to soak in
Yeah.
the sun.
Yeah.
We talked about being depleted of vitamin D and the depleted of the water and the fluoride and the this and the that. We don't want to get
Hmm.
down too many rabbit holes, but I
Hmm.
mean, I love how you're taking an entire holistic approach to what
Because
you're.
it's all connected, it's all connected. And I think it's us plugging back into ourselves and our inner power. And then just getting back to, I mean, I think, you know, it sounds so basic. And I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, like morning sunrise is really gonna help me, please. Um, but it does. It's simple. It's that simple. And so I think too, like, for me moving forward, it's really simplifying things. We've I think made things just way complex. And so especially, I think like I see the fitness trends and what's opening up, and somatic movement is on the rise. It's I think people are like still have that, there's a little uh cognitive lack of like truly understanding where they think they still need that, like I have to have my boot camp class. And I'm not saying you can't or you don't have to, but of incorporating this into that, because it's going to heighten that, but then it's also going to have you tune into your body to notice, oh, when I do this, like, yeah, like, you know, I'm, maybe have a little more anxiety throughout the day, or, tuning into those sensations that you are experiencing, but of finding what, a plan, or, of reorganizing. Maybe you don't need to do the boot camp for an hour. Maybe it's just, 10 minutes. That's what I'm finding for myself, of like, oh, I don't have to do like those things for that long. And I think that's what I always loved about dance, because like a dance class is an hour and a half and you have 40 minutes to warm up where you're in your body. Then you do across the floor. Then you're learning choreography. So that it's like this build, and it's not yeah, the choreography may get your heart rate up, but then the next group goes out and you just you calm it down, but then you also have this brain body connection going on. So I think that's my goal with people, of really just connecting those two and taking care of these physical vessels, because if people took care of their bodies like they did their cars, um you know, like it would, you only have this one body for this, go around.
If people took care, if people lived like they lived on social media, they'd be a lot better off. So I don't want to. You kind of covered it, but I always catch people off guard at the end. Because I'm so grateful for your time. I don't want to extend it too much. We've already had an amazing chat, but I always ask people two questions at the end
Mm.
of the
Ooh,
podcast.
okay.
You kind of touched on it, so I feel guilty for not doing it sooner. But
Hmm.
obviously, the podcast is called "What If You Could," right? So I always ask people, two questions based on that premise. So
Okay.
you kind of just cover it. But if I was to ask you to say, what if you could do anything for you? for Cindy? Like moving
Hmm.
forward from where you are right now, what if you could? What would be your for Cindy? What do you want for Cindy?
I want Cindy to fully live, fully be her authentic self, letting go of any kind of judgments. I think I've, lived my life in front of a mirror where you're,
Literally.
literally, and constantly using that as feedback of of letting that go and just fully just going and following my path wherever that takes me, that comes from within, but just honoring that and fully doing it.
I love it. I love it.
And
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 it's so, but it's so already you. I mean, you've already have been so true to that so much. You're gonna, you've got this. So last question. Same type of concept, but so on the what if you could premise, what if you could, it's a little bit bigger question, but what if
Mhm.
you could change the world in Cindy's vision? What if you could change the world in any way? You could go back to the beginning of time, you can go into 500 years from now. But what do you, when you sit there and look at the world and think about it, go, man, what would you, what do you feel we need to change for the world?
I mean, I don't know, the first thing that always comes to my mind is that I think it's like it's whoever came and bought the land and said I own it and you got to pay me to live here. um
Right? How did that happen?
how did that happen? I don't know if they're genius or if they're,
Wicked. They're
evil.
evil.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'd go back. I would like to change that. The medical system, I don't think it's healthcare. I think it's sick care. Um, and our, food.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are
You know,
good.
it's I mean, it's going into all different, like my mind right now is like so many, how like the food, how that just goes into so many different things of what they've, done to our food, of, those corporations. Um, yeah, because I think it's just a way to keep us suppressed
Yeah.
and not, like the full genius within us, is numbed or dimmed a little.
Mhm. It's so much easier to control people
Mhm.
when they're on that loop, when they're on that hamster wheel, when they're malnourished, when they're depleted, when they're sad, when they're
And they become
yeah.
that, and it's that consciousness, it's not one of abundance and prosperity. It's because that's what I always think about. What would the world be like if there wasn't the sickness, if everyone was able to heal themselves, like their powers were on in their hands, they could heal, their healing blindness, sickness. There's not this lack, this poverty and victim consciousness, that it is just of like true abundance and prosperity. Like, what would that be like? What would that look like? What would that feel like? And so, like, for me, like, I try to, I mean, I talk to myself about this, but just like, what does, I talk to my body a lot, like, show me what abundance feels like. Show me. And then, because I want to embody that and move that and carry that forward in all of my relationships and in all of my interactions.
I love it. Why do you think people don't believe or don't make the effort to be, I don't want to say healthier or cleaner or maybe more purposeful with their own body. Why do you think? Because you work with people and their bodies forever. I mean, you've seen anorexic, you've seen bulimic, you've seen people who do crazy stuff to their bodies to try to get that little edge, and or maybe people who don't eat right as they get older. I mean, why do you think, since we're both in the same mindset of what's happening with people's bodies, why do you think that is? Why don't people take, they'd rather get the next iPhone and wait in line for 3 hours to get the next iPhone than go and get something healthy to make themselves.
Well, I think I mean, the first thing is like taking responsibility and accountability. So there has to be that shift. And I think some people, don't maybe not even may not have that awareness that, oh, if I shifted that and like took full responsibility, like I did that, and it doesn't have to be bad. It could be, good things happen. And it's like, oh, I did that. If taking your power back, or the powers, through societal conditioning, through programming, belief systems, religion, you the
Yeah,
power of the person has been taken away. And so that's where it leads to this um victim mindset. And that's kind of, it could be easier, and maybe in some cases it works for them. They could have people do things for them, or um and then it's that change, it's creating change, which um anytime there's change, you have to change, you have to make change. And like I said, like we were saying earlier, most people are living on automatic pilot. So you have to get out of that. You have to become present and be a conscious person living, consciously choosing what you're going to put in your mouth, who you're going to hang out with, who you're going to speak to, how you're going to speak. Like, that's what you embody. And so, like, I do an exercise with people of creating your avatar, and so in your case, you're king of the castle. how does how does he speak? How does he talk? How does he carry himself? What habits does he do that are different than what you're doing now? That's the change. That's the shift that has to happen. And so, at times that could become overwhelming because it feels like, oh, it's just too hard. It's just too much. I just can't do it. And that's where you just have to start off small. It's having that compassion for yourself, the grace for yourself, but starting small, tiny, actionable steps that are doable for you to commit to show up and do those every day.
that's awesome. And that's part of the somatic movement, right? I mean, isn't that kind of part of what you do with your sessions?
Absolutely. And you can even bring that into it, of just because you can feel when you're sick, like how you feel in your body. And everything just kind of like changes your face, everything. When you're sad, there's just, this heaviness. And I'm not saying being sad is a bad thing at all. It's a human, emotion, but also to allow yourself to feel, but not to like swim in it. Yeah, I lost someone close to me, and I'm sad, and it hurts. And that just shows me like, oh, I have like the capacity that I have to love, like that's all it is. But of allowing it to move through you, but not like every day reminding yourself of, like, oh my God, just going there, so of being able to kind of pull yourself out, it's really like reparenting yourself in a way. And maybe this does go back to some childhood trauma, depending on the individual, or learned, or a survival tactic. But it's about being, a present person, and you are consciously choosing I mean, you see people who have gotten themselves like, out of poverty, like they grew up in that, but like this isn't me and this is not me. And they just completely open themselves up to a different form of energy. And it's a frequency. We're all frequency energy beings. And so whatever we're tuning into is the world that we see.
I
And
love it.
so
I love
that's,
it. You've got so much to share. And
oh,
I bet
thank
your
you.
sessions are amazing. And I can't believe 2 hours have just blown by because there's so much more I wanted to touch on. But so how do people reach you if they were curious about your sessions and what you do? How could people reach you?
My Instagram is my name, Cindy Leo, CINDYLEOS. So there I'm pretty active. I'm talking about somatic movement and keto practices. And my website is my name as well. My link, I have links in my profile on Instagram that take you to offerings that I have. And yeah, I think those are the best ways.
Okay, and we're gonna put those at the end of on the podcast,
Okay.
whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, TikTok. I don't know, it sounds like 15 different things. So they'll all have a link that'll go directly to your website and your Instagram so people can connect right with you there. And I just can't thank you enough, for your time. You're so gracious. I had a feeling this one was going to go a while because we're just so tied in on our beliefs. But I love what you're doing, and I hope we could do more of this, spread the word, and let's see if we can heal some folks. Why not, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, maybe we need to get to the youth, I mean,
Uh,
because they definitely are our future. And you know, but I am so appreciative. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's flown by. It just flowed. And
it's
that's what we want. We just want to flow. We want to find that flow state. So thank you. This has been
it's a
fun.
good it's a good place to be. It's a good place. All right,
100%.
my friend. Cindy Leos, everybody, she's amazing. Find her at cindyleos.com. Find her on the Instagram. We're gonna link everything to that. And she's an amazing gal. She's done some great stuff, and she's got a huge soul, huge heart for a little gal. We love her, and you will too. So, all right, kiddo. Thank you so much, and we'll
Thank
talk.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us on another episode of What If You Could podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and give us any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And remember, if you can dream it, you can do it. See you next time.